There's only so much you can learn in a textbook. Then when you're thrown into it, it's like, oh, okay, this is real life.
I use the scientific method in everything I do. I don't sit back and think I know everything. I question everything.
I know we're a very well-kept secret, even though it's huge here. We don't let a lot of people up here yet. You guys are truly the first cameras that we've let up here in this manner.
When we heard about Patriot Gardens, we had to go see for ourselves. Exactly what was the West Virginia National Guard's grand plan to eradicate food insecurity, restore the land, and create jobs?
This is Nicholas County, West Virginia. It's what we affectionately call the Patriot Apple Project. Abandoned mine land funding has allowed us to branch into the apple orchard research as well as business opportunity realm. And we're trying to show how we can actually build orchards on post-mine use land.
West Virginia has long been known as a coal production state. That's what we identify with. That's what our economy has been surrounded, our politics. We've moved mountains for it. There's been a huge decrease in that, 53% from 2008 loss in coal production. So we are at a crossroads, really. We need to find out what our new identity is, and this project is going to help lead us to that.
We've done a lot of strip mining and mountaintop removal kind of stuff, so you end up with a lot of flat land that isn't necessarily real high in nutrients. And so we've tried to work with the agriculture folks to see what we need to do to improve the soil so that we can grow trees and other things. That's just the first thing we're looking at.
This all started while I was still at West Virginia State University. I got a call from the Guard that there was an opportunity to apply for what's called the AML grant. General Hoyer had a vision that after some conversations that led the Guard to USDA ARS, which is the Small Fruit Research Station in Kearneysville, that due to the rich culture in Clay County, which is a neighboring county with the Golden Delicious apple, that there could potentially be opportunities for a resurgence of the apple industry in the state.
Because they're military people, they're in the Guard, they don't know the first thing about planting apples. My name is Doug Raines, and I am the Director of Agricultural Operations for the Patriot Gardens. I'm also a shared employee between the USDA and the West Virginia Military Authority. It kind of worked out because I knew a lot about apples. They were looking for people to help them with apples.
That then put the Guard kind of in the apple growing business.
One of the first soldiers to break ground here was Ben Meckley.
I remember my first day when I showed up here. I was actually still in the National Guard here in West Virginia. So I actually showed up in uniform as state active duty, just as an equipment operator to help with this.
Where we're standing is the initiation point of what is now the Patriot Apple Project. This is the initial 3,000 trees that were put out here.
Mining has went on here, for 60, 70 years. So some of this land was actively mined in the 70s. Given our climate here in West Virginia, this was practically a jungle. You couldn't walk through this. I remember you could barely navigate a path up on this hill, believe it or not. So just the energy and the thought process and the time and the man hours that it took to get it to this is really a testament to that partnership that the National Guard brought to this organization in this project.
My name is Bill Crane. I'm the Adjutant General for West Virginia. As soldiers and airmen in the Guard, we are all about protecting our country. We're about protecting, supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States.
Just from a military preparedness aspect, our food source is important. Where does our food come from? Can we feed our own people within the state?
And one of the things that we saw in West Virginia, particularly during this pandemic, just how many people are right on the edge of food insecurity. And we had a tremendous uptick in the number of people that needed food assistance.
We consume $8 billion worth of food annually, and we only produce a fraction of that. What should we be concerned with? And that's our natural resources.
Having that scientific method background helps me to sit around and ask people, hey, well, what can we do with this? What's a better idea? Throughout the Guard, both Army and Air, we have some of the most incredible people. When they see a problem, they want to come back and say, hey, how can we help solve this?
When he started talking about California and the droughts and the inability for them to be able to support the crops as needed.
She's talking about General Hoyer, the guy who got the National Guard thinking about agriculture as an economic driver way before AML grants or apple orchards became standard operating procedures.
He kept on saying, I know I can't build a pipeline from West Virginia to California to give them our plentiful water. He goes, but we can put it into food.
And so the research that's being done here, as well as other opportunities for ag production in the state, is going to help build that food chain.
I'm stationed at the Appalachian Fruit Research Station in Carneysville, West Virginia. We have plant breeders. They're using traditional breeding methods and they're using genetically modified techniques to either delay the blooming of certain varieties of fruit. But, there you can go through a stretch where like 3 out of 5 years, you'll get froze out in the spring because of late spring frosts. And that's all because you'll get a warm up like in February or March and everything will, spring to life. And then you'll get a cold snap and it'll just, kill all your blossoms and then no blossoms, no fruits. I mean, you can debate about the causes of climate change, but the reality is it is happening. With drought and things like that, they're working on phenotypes that have different types of root systems that have more efficient roots and things like that to make the most use of the water that's available.
Originally, the question was, can we grow apple trees here? And, that answer was obviously yes. Well, how well can we grow apples here? Moving into this next phase of it, we've went from a utilitarian efficiency setup to a more scientific approach. We have to set a precedent for how other companies, whether it's private or public investors, to come in, do this, and be successful at it.
It has to scale.
Yes,
Yep.
Exactly. West Virginia is known as a coal mining state, but you go back before the coal, and West Virginia was deep in agriculture. When you look at the numbers, 100 years ago, West Virginia produced over 12 million bushels of apples. Today, West Virginia produces, a little over 300,000 apples.
When you look at the median income for this area and some of the surrounding areas that are actually looking to potentially go into orchard production, that's around a $30,000 a year median income for a family. So what this opportunity in itself can bring is jobs that pay higher than the going wage right now. There's already a vibrant, growing city around Summersville Lake. There is a direct corridor between this and a New River Gorge, with the New River Gorge now turning into a national park. This area is truly prime for expansion. The mindset of the Guard was, man, if we could really do this and do this right, this gives that identity back to this area.
One thing that this project has done, it's generated a level of interest that I don't think was there before from the landowners and the coal companies themselves. We're looking at the future, and we're getting calls usually weekly about this project, how they could do something similar on the land that they have available to develop. And so it's really kind of been a springboard, at least within the state, to see ag as a remedy to that problem. And a lot of it is in relationship to water.
We've got the water and now we have the land. So we need to be good stewards of all of that and do what we do best.
There's a lot of good ideas, there's a lot of big picture thinkers, but to actually put that into action, the military is real good at that.
Quoting General Hoyer, failure is not an option.
We're not going to stop our progress. We're going to do what we're doing because we feel it's the right path. This project alone has tried our souls in so many different ways. Things that you think should be the easy route definitely have not been an easy route, but knowing that this is a whole coalition, many of them veterans, many of them past Guards members. Same way with Cindy with the workforce development. Pretty much the entire heavy equipment crew are veterans that are training others on how to do this.
On a very basic level, that's really what all humans want, is they want to create something. And so, for a veteran that has, seen combat and seen that and seen destruction, for them to come back and have an avenue like I had to come into this, post-service to where, we're creating something beautiful is really an expression that you don't find in most places.
As people are losing those coal mining jobs and all those other resource opportunities, we've got to find them an opportunity, something to give them some hope. And because hope is really, if you can't get out of bed every day knowing you have something that you need to get out of bed for, it really can make you get into a pretty depressed place. And as a state, we've got to figure out what it is that we can get everybody raised back up.
I think when you leave West Virginia and you meet other West Virginians, they always talk about how they miss home. They want to stay. They want to be here. It's beautiful. But at the same time, it has to be an economic decision. If you want to raise a family, you have to have jobs to support them. And West Virginia is a beautiful place to do that.
This is a tremendous opportunity in our state to revitalize our economy. We were a farming people well before the coal industry began.
We're resilient. We're steadfast. We ain't leaving. We're going to fix it. And those that do leave really do tend to want to come back home. So we'll just make it better when they're ready to come back home. They've got a reason to come back home.